we're back. It's episode 20. The Dirty 30 Podcast.
Guess who's back in the motherfucking house?
Dirty 30 Podcast.
Yeah, we hope you guys dig the new intro song. Recorded, obviously, by us.
Yeah. Oh, we're going to go every 20 episodes. And it only took us like 4 years to get to the first 20. So yeah, hopefully it'll be a little bit quicker. But yeah. Who knows? Who knows what comes next? Maybe next time we'll do like I don't know. I was gonna make something up off the top of my head and I got nothing right now.
Polka, probably. It's probably gonna be something polka or
that's a good call.
Yeah, we called it this time though. You said don't want it to be too zany. You know, I don't think it came out zany at all. I think it came out sexy.
Right. I love how the segments are those are the zany ones. Those are funny. Like strain of the episode, and we got the Michelada minute. Those songs were funny to make, but the intro song, it was just kind of like I think the original goal, we were gonna go more hip hop, and then I don't know. It slowed down a little bit. Felt good though.
It took a funky, sexy turn.
It did take a sexy turn.
With a sprinkle of little Brian Wilson vocal melodies in there and harmonies.
Yeah, I don't know. I was feeling some good vibrations, dude.
Yeah, we hope you guys dig it, though.
When I listen to it. Well, it's June 8th. Yeah. We made it to June 8th. It's the 160th day of the year. Normally the 159th day, but, you know, it's leap year. Of course it's leap year with all this stuff happening.
Yeah, and I'm sure we could all agree that even though it's the 160th day of the year, it feels like the 957th day of the year.
Yeah. Since we all talked last, videos surfaced of a cop killing a man, and the
in
world,
cold blood.
Yeah, absolutely. In the wrong. Had his knee on his neck for 8.5 minutes. The man stopped breathing, and then he passed away, unfortunately, and rest in peace to that man. But the reaction of that was the what I feel like is the catalyst, or just the extreme tipping point in something that has been an issue for a very, very long time on Earth. And for the first time in my life, I'm proud to be a millennial.
Mm-hmm.
And the generation younger than us. I'm an old millennial, and the ones right under the millennials too. That generation,
filming everything.
Yeah, they may have been the weakest ones we thought up until this point, but not only are they, yes, possibly the weakest if it were to come down to a physical hand-on-hand fight, but one thing they do smarter than anyone else ever is they will document every single bit of life ever.
Yeah.
They document everything.
Yeah, before we get too far away, I also want to make sure that we mention this man's name, because it's a very big talking point. We need to make sure that when we talk about it, we're saying the names of these people. His name is George Floyd, and he's just one of the many different victims that have been claimed at the hands of police officers, people of color, affected at rates that just don't make sense when you look at the numbers. And we have a good friend, he's a good friend of the podcast, Justin Fisher, that really called it out and I think gave light to this issue in a way that's very easily palatable. And that's, you look at the statistic that white people are killed by the hands of police at double the rates than black people are in this country. But black people only make up 13% of the population of this country. So those numbers are wrong. They're wrong. For anybody to use that as some sort of scapegoat on how the thuggish and gang-like police departments of this country operate is just factually inaccurate. It's wrong.
Yeah. Well, this is what's crazy with everything going on is, it's hard to put this into words, but without sounding like too much of a crazy person any more than I always sound like a fucking crazy person. is with everything being documented, it's I think a lot of people for the first time right now are seeing that the news doesn't give you the facts. The news will just send you a narrative.
And how scary is that this is the first time that people are noticing that?
Dude, I know. And we've been those dudes forever. I've always been the tinfoil hat dude. Like, and that's a whole different conversation. But the crazy thing here is that everybody's not everybody. They're still we're seeing the very ignorant side of a lot of people. But just people are seeing everything. They're seeing the corruption in it. They're seeing just videos of these fucking peaceful protests going on. And I know that there's the peaceful protests. It's like everybody knows that they're going to show up there and it's going to end crazy. It's kind of the vibe. It's how it's always been. And as much as that shouldn't be the way that people go into it, that we're now seeing the videos of the people that are instigating things. We're seeing the videos of teams of people burning old cop cars that have nothing to do with the cop cars that are like issued out these days. They're just old Crown Vics and shit.
Decommissioned.
We're seeing all this crazy shit. And, before you can show people that. And, a lot of people are going to be at home and they're going to watch it on TV. And on TV, it's just a fucking burning cop car. That's so insane. It's so dramatic. But then now you have a bunch of kids on the ground with cell phones and they're just filming the fact that you can see teams of 4 to 5 people strategically putting lighter fluid inside underneath the seats and doing all of these things that are just, it's too strategic for the fact that it all goes down in one full minute. There's, I don't know.
Well, it goes to prove, Shane, that things work both ways. And by that, I mean the constant surveillance state that we're at in this country currently, and have been because of the rise of technology and consumer technology. That surveillance state holds accountability in both ways. And that's ultimately, I think the underlying message of all this is that we need accountability from our people in power and our law enforcement agencies. If there is no accountability there and it's the fucking boys club that fucking protect each other anytime that there's a wrongdoing, that is blatant corruption, and it needs to be fucking ended now.
Yeah. And everybody's calling it out. I love what I'm seeing. Honestly, people are getting really upset, and I know there's a very valid argument in the idea of structural damage and all this stuff, but I don't know. I just don't give a fuck about any of that right now.
Well, doesn't it prove a point?
My mind couldn't be further away from the fact that your small business got robbed. Like, I don't give a fuck. I'm sorry that I don't give a fuck, but that's why you got insurance. That's why you had insurance. And you're honestly going to end up making more money at the end of it because of insurance if you properly had your insurance. And if you didn't, then that's on you.
Yeah. But the worst part, though, Shane, is that it's not even the small businesses that are being fucking protected by the police. Like, if you think about
protected, you get
all
the big business.
It's all the
fuck about.
No, the mom and pop, they don't give a shit about that, but and I saw a really good diagram this week that fucking made so much sense. It said, if the police are out here trying to protect businesses and infrastructure from these peaceful protests, then why the fuck are they putting lines in the middle of the street instead of fucking adjacent to where all the businesses are? You could literally have the police lining the streets like a parade on both sides, protecting the businesses and letting people walk through and making sure that people don't fucking smash and fuck up the businesses. But no, instead they're putting a fucking wall in the middle of the street and meeting fucking at the 50-yard line with these protesters and really just agitating them to the point until they say, fuck it, let's just gas them. Let's just gas them. You know what I mean? Which is wrong again. Tear gas used against civilians in America when it's not even allowed in war.
Yeah, it's like cops are fighting protesters who are fighting cops, fighting racist. I don't know. I worded that wrong, but
yeah,
it's just like a weird mindset of where, the cops are fighting people right now to protect their rights to fight people.
Yeah, that's really what it is, which is fucking so ridiculous, man. But it's one of those things, Shane, and I'm proud of the community that we are a part of, in just our friends group and the people that we associate ourselves with, because we grew up listening to hardcore music, and to watch the push right now and the activism that's coming from.
Are you not proud of Huntington Beach right now?
No, not at all. I'm embarrassed to live here during all this, dude. Are you kidding me? I'm fucking embarrassed.
No, I softballed that. I knew what I was going to ask you right there.
If there's anything, and I'm just being real, if there's anything that this entire past 4 months has shown me, is that I am not represented in the place that I live. And so I will move to be in a place where I am represented. Straight up. Yeah. Straight up. That's really what this entire, between the virus and everything that's going on, people, white people out trying to fucking counter protest against Black Lives Matter. Like, it really, what it comes down to is we see how history moves in circles and moves in cycles, and history repeats itself constantly. And really, when it comes to this argument, blue versus black, you know what I mean? In this country, what side of history are you going to be on? Because that's really
such a stupid fucking term. Okay. I understand that there are a lot of good cops out there. I've never said that there weren't. I also don't like cops in general. That's always kind of been a thing. Always gotten a bad vibe around them. They've always fucked with me. That's just the way that I look too. Every time that I've gotten pulled over, my car gets searched as well. So maybe that's because I just look or reek of marijuana. And yeah, I get it. Maybe not lately because the laws have changed, but I got a sobriety test the last time I really got pulled over.
Yeah.
And I was just dead sober. It was like, oh shit. And then that was when I realized I need to start doing yoga or something, because I can't fucking balance like that shit anyways, dude. I'm all fucking tall and lanky at this point, a fucking fat guy lanky too, but no, man. This shit is just fucking insane.
Yeah. And I'm glad to see people speaking up, and I'm glad to see people going out and fucking speaking their mind. And I thought about, Shane, I thought about it long and hard. And if I wasn't in and out of the hospital visiting my son, I would have been one of the first people out there voicing my support as an ally for the fucking black community in this country. Straight up. There's no two ways about it.
It's insane to me that I guess it just kind of everything kind of turns into comedy in my head, but it's obviously something that isn't comedy at all. But it's this whole fact that this is just still a thing. This is just still normal. And I guess what I was getting at before I kind of went off the deep end, typical, it's the whole argument of the Black Lives versus Blue Lives thing. Blue Lives isn't a thing. That's a fucking career. It's a career path.
That was chosen.
Yes, police matter.
That was chosen.
But you weren't born into being a cop and having no choice of being a cop for your entire existence. That's not real.
Well,
you can leave the police force. You can, I have a dude at work. He's an ex-cop. He fucking great dude. And I work in the marijuana business.
Yeah.
He's a cool ass dude. He's a great guy. He's not blue lives. He didn't agree with anything going on right now. Well, so if you're going to say blue lives, then that would mean that you're through and through for life.
Yeah. Well,
and that is not a fucking thing. You are dedicated while you're on the clock, because those motherfuckers aren't dedicated when they're off the clock. Because I know for a damn fact that cops party harder than fucking any other of those. Between cops and firefighters, dude, they fucking rage, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
That fucking cocaine use is at an all-time high.
Yeah. The devil's dandruff. You know that?
Dude.
That brings up an interesting point though, Shane. And I've seen a lot of people discredit kind of the impact that these protests have made. And at their fundamental core, right, hasn't it done one of the most powerful things in regards to it's brought it into a national spotlight in which white people are talking about these things. And that's very important. But this brings me to a point, is that I was talking to another white person this week about this subject, and I don't need to name any names or put anybody on blast, but this white person essentially told me that they side with the cops because the cops are in danger every time they put on that badge and go do their job. And I laughed at this person and I said, but that's a chosen danger. Imagine being born with darker skin and being in danger every time you leave your house from those people. from the cops. Think about that. It's not a choice. You know what I mean? It's not a choice whatsoever. So, to hear that perspective and have that narrow-minded perspective.
You put yourself in danger every day that you get in your car and you drive anywhere.
Life is a danger.
Do you realize what we're doing when we're in a moving vehicle? Do you realize how dangerous a freeway is? Have you ever just thought to yourself that there's these fucking 15,000 pounds of steel moving at 60 to 100 miles an hour?
Yeah.
Like, nobody thinks about that. That's danger. That's danger. So that's equivalent. That's not race. I don't know. People have the dumbest fucking arguments right now with it. And
yeah,
dude, we've all made stupid jokes. Everybody's had a stupid fucking thing that they've said. We've all gotten mad at fucking everyone of every race. It's not a matter of like racism and that, but the fact that right now is like a fucking perfect window in life to just be able to recognize the actual problems. And then on top of this major problem that is the race issue that's forever been a fucking thing, it's the fact that, after hearing that cops have only been a thing for 200 years, besides like the obvious like side of like the sheriffs and things further than that, there's always been like some form of law enforcement.
Yeah.
But the like major side of police force being like a 200-year thing, it's like, we don't need that, dude. We need people to keep things in law. Yes. And not to say, I guess in law is like a weird way to word it. But then we need to put more money into the people that are helping everyone that fuck up. Like we need, instead of just throwing them in prison or whatever for fucking jaywalking,
funding the laws, dude. Or funding law enforcement. Let's fund social programs.
Addiction out there. Yeah, the homelessness. Everything like that. Like, it's just such a fucking major issue.
Let's put our money into actually rehabilitating people instead of fucking just throwing them in a cage, you know what I mean, and making money. Because that's really all it is. You know what I mean? The cops. The cops these days are pretty much just a glorified fucking.
It's just generate revenue.
Yeah,
it's 100% to generate revenue. That's why you get more tickets at the end of the fucking month.
Yeah,
that's why you get.
And all of them will tell you there's no quotas, but it's all dog shit.
No, I don't know, but I do feel like there has to be something out there. There has to be, and I have like a few people on the gram that fucking they're like firefighters and work in the firefighter industry.
Yeah.
And they're very pro police right now. And I don't know why they're taking so much of the attack. In my eyes, I guess I don't know. Maybe I'm just naive and ignorant. But nobody's attacking firefighters here. Nobody's attacking that side of like, if anything, these people are going to get more budget. They're going to get more money to just...
But firefighters aren't out killing minorities, dude.
Dude,
you know what I'm saying? Like, that's, I mean, that's the fucking fundamental difference between the two. But honestly, you know me, Shane. I'm a logical problem solver. That's how I am. That's how my brain works. You know what I mean? It's the things that I actually enjoy doing, whether it's a puzzle, whether it's troubleshooting some technical issue at work. I like to problem solve. So immediately when I saw all the messaging that's coming out right now and everything that's happening, this was my first two logical thoughts. You know what I mean? Which I think are some pretty fucking viable solutions in the long run, when it comes to some sort of reform of how police departments operate in this country. The first one is community oversight. That's obvious. Every single fucking local police department needs to have a community review board that's comprised of, whether it's elected, locally elected, and or just fucking volunteered, a group of community people that hold the way that our police departments and our local police departments operate and hold them accountable for their fucking fuck ups. That's just number one. Okay.
Yeah.
Number two is the lack of vested interest in community by police departments. And this is the thing, is if you look at police departments of old, most police departments were comprised of members of that community, which means that if you were a police officer in this city and you went when you're off duty and you go to the grocery store with your family, you go to the grocery store in the same community that you police. You have a vested interest in the place that you are fucking policing. But when you have fucking people that live in Riverside County fucking driving to come be Anaheim PD officers that don't give a shit about that city and don't have zero connection whatsoever for the members of that community, that's where you get these cold-hearted motherfuckers that don't give a shit, and it drives this division that we're seeing and this complete lack of parity. You know what I mean?
You live in Pasadena and you work in downtown LA.
Yeah, just shit like that. You don't have a vested interest in the people that you're fucking policing and governing. And so how the fuck can you be trusted? That's really what it comes down to, you know? And I realize there's kinks in that because there's certain places in this country where the population is so high that there's not enough people that want to be police officers in that city to govern themselves. You know what I mean? Or to police themselves. But there's a better way, dude. There's a solution in there somewhere. You know what I mean? In some of those logical ideas that flowed to my brain. And that's just coming while taking the race outside. This is just the objective, non-emotional, you know what I mean, logical side of this. But then you throw in the nuance of fucking and the history of race relations between the police and fucking people of color in this country, and that hurt that comes along with that lack of trust, and you watch this fucking tea kettle bubble up until the point to where it fucking boils over, and that's what we're watching right now. You know,
I know. I watched Anchor Ask a Man standing right outside. He was just, it didn't show if he was the one that caught the building on fire or what, but he was just watching the fire. And the news anchor kind of came up behind him and like asked him like, "Sir, you know, what do you think about this?" And he goes, I don't know. And she goes, "Well, don't you think it's insane that people are just burning the buildings?" And like she started kind of going on that side. And he just looked at her and he goes, "Do you think like people want to be doing this? It's like, this is how we feel." Yeah, like this is literally, and he pointed at the building. He just kind of looked over his shoulder and looked at the building and looked at her and goes, "This is how we feel." And it's just, it's fucking real, man.
Kind of poetic in a lot of ways, because it's, nobody wants to feel that fucking, that hurt, that angst, man. Nobody does.
Feel like a burning house? No way. It's the worst fucking feeling ever.
No. And, we should wrap this like sort of conversation up, but I think at the end of all this, Shane, we should say that at least for me personally, and I know you too, just in all the conversations we have, is that I stand by every single person of color, every black person in this country that is out voicing their opinions against the oppressors, which are the police in this country. And they have my 100% support, and I will fucking do everything that I can to support them through this entire fucking thing. Straight up.
Yeah, man. I think that's kind of been like the fun part of all this, is that you get to see who kind of grew up and who didn't.
Yeah.
Or when you're in your 30s and you're kind of watching a lot of the people that you knew in past lives and shit just through like the internet still, and you obviously get a false version of them anyways, but like, I don't know, some of the ignorant shit is just so mind-blowing.
Yeah.
It's so mind-blowing.
It really is.
I'm not here to call anyone out, and that's why I'm not calling anyone out, but it's more so, it's nice to be able to see that and to know who I don't want my life to be affiliated with, almost.
Yep. It's drawn some really thick lines in the sand, and so be it.
Yeah.
So be it.
And just on that note, dude, it's June 8th. Today's National Best Friend Day.
Happy best.
My friend.
Yeah, happy.
I think you're my best friend. Yeah. Yeah, what up?
You think,
happy
dude?
National Best Friend Day.
We've just been fucking rolling together for like 20 years or some shit. Fuck you.
Dude, I know. And on that note,
Fuck
it's
you
also
on
National
Happy Best Friends
Slap a
Day.
Bitch Day, dude. It's National Slap a Bitch Day too, bro, so you better watch out.
And that ties into our last conversation is, go out and slap a police officer right now. That's what I'd say. I'm thinking about doing it tomorrow.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, a lot of shit happened. We kind of went on like a 20-minute tangent there. We even said like we're gonna do a little catch up, and then like, well, dude, the plan's to keep this one as much of like the original structure as possible. Which from this point on, we'll roll kind of back into that. But yeah, it's fucking crazy when we do a bi-weekly podcast, and in between 2 weeks of life going by, some of the biggest fucking life events have fucking happened in general.
Yeah. Some very, very big moments, but it's important though. You know what I mean? And that's the thing.
Historical in life. I mean,
sure.
We had a kid.
We
have the Rona.
Yeah. We went off on a tangent, but fucking it's important to talk about, man. You know what I mean? It really is. So, if we didn't talk about it, honestly, we'd be being disingenuous to what's happening on this day.
And no, that's for sure. And straight up too is we could go on and we have like a couple group chats and just between like the PlayStation chat and shit. It's like we have so much more to truly voice, but it's just one of those things that it's like it's the elephant in the room of the idea is you can't just kind of jump in and try to be wacky.
Yeah.
In the idea that just fucking crazy shit going on.
But it's
real crazy.
It's important to talk about, Shane, and I think that this is also important to talk about, is that in 1993, on this day, RuPaul released his debut album, Supermodel of the World. And she already had hers, and I fucking love RuPaul. I am a huge fan of this person as just a figure, as a role model for so many people out there. But shout out RuPaul, straight up.
What year was that?
That was 93.
Oh, because in 84, homosexuality is declared legal in the state of New South Wales, Australia.
Fuck yeah, good on you, Australia.
Kind of big events, but also I got to throw it at because it's also 1984. This was an A-side, B-side. Because if you think that's historical, the second most historical thing to follow up that is that Gremlins was also released.
Oh, classic. We kind of had a little LGBT theme going there for the first couple. We're kind of going to bring it back to that. In 1977, Kanye West, American rapper and record producer, was born in Atlanta, Georgia. So I don't know if you guys know, but Kanye is a gay fish.
Yeah, it's his birthday. Oh, man, that's a good one. Dude, oh, man, this one's just kind of funny. This is not even funny, but in 1942... Bing Crosby, who recorded Silent Night.
Oh, it's a classic still. It still plays every holiday.
Yeah, I don't know. That's everyone's heard it.
What year was that?
That was 1942.
All right. Well, we're going to take it all the way back to 1955 for this one. Dodgers optioned Tommy Lasorda to make room on roster for Sandy Koufax. That was in 1955.
That's pretty big, dude.
That is pretty big, but that also, Tommy Lasorda went down to be one of the most legendary managers of the Dodgers. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's probably the smartest move, but also like somehow everyone was cool with it in the long run. That's one of those moves that everyone was cool with the outcome.
Yeah.
We'll keep it baseball. 1977, Nolan Ryan notched his fourth at the time 19 strikeout game.
What a beast.
He threw a game with 19 strikeouts, and that was his fourth at the time. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I feel like he went on to do it another time or maybe two more times or something. I'm not quite sure, but
yeah. Wow. What a day, dude. This was a good day.
There's some weird ones. There's some Ghostbusters. 1984. Ghostbusters was released. Well, that's what's up, dude. Aykroyd, Bill Murray.
Yeah. This one ties into kind of what we were talking about before. 1921, Babe Ruth was arrested for speeding, fined $100, and held until jail until 4 p.m. Notice how I didn't say that he died at the hands of the police officers that pulled him over. He's a white guy. I said he just went to jail until 4 p.m. that day. Big deal.
Right. Dude. Speaking about dying at the hands of the white man, we got Barbara Bush. Would have been her birthday. That's pretty good.
Barbara Bush.
Barbara Bush. I don't know. I tried to tie that in with that transition. It didn't work completely. I bet there's like 4 people out there that kind of laughed though, so that's pretty cool.
Hey.
It wasn't my worst stretch, but
1982.
Yeah, Barbara Bush.
1982. Right. 36th NBA championship. The Lakers beat the Philadelphia 76ers 4-2. Shout out Lakers.
Shout out Lakers.
Basketball's coming back, baby.
Dude, you know who's not coming back? But it would have been their birthday. But Jerry Stiller.
The legend.
And he's such a legend that we're honestly just going to keep it going. And he's also our person that we want to party with from the past. Jerry Stiller.
classic comedian. All the sitcoms that he's been on, all the, Seinfeld.
Yeah, he was
first
George
off.
Costanza's dad in Seinfeld.
That was
He just yelled. That was like what he was big on. He just yelled.
yeah, classic role of his. But think about, we always talk about what we would do if we party with this guy. I'm sure we'd have a schwitz. That's what I was thinking, obviously of Jewish heritage. Let's go get a schwitz. Let's go get a sweat on and let's fucking party with Jerry Stiller for an afternoon. You know what I'm saying?
That's the thing too, is he didn't actually do drugs or anything. I kind of looked it up, but it's like what I would want to do is I would want to take Ben Stiller's approach. And what you and I can do is we take some acid and then we let that trip go real bad. And then we call Jerry Stiller and we explain to Jerry what's happening. And then Jerry, because he's such a square, and quoted by him, he said, "I missed the 60s. I was busy working." He goes on to tell Ben Stiller, who at the time's tripping on acid, but replace that in this story with Tim and I. We're now on acid, calling Jerry. And Jerry would go on to tell us, "I know what you're feeling. When I was 10 years old, I smoked 2 Pall Mall cigarettes and I had a headache for 10 days.
That's pretty good.
And that's actually a true story. So I watched the whole video on it earlier today that Ben Stiller, he took acid when he was younger and he called his dad. And if you didn't know, Jerry Stiller is Ben Stiller's dad. Surprise. If you just found that out right now, that's pretty epic because Zoolander.
Yeah.
They did Zoolander together. He was Maury.
If we're the
Maury
ones
Ballstein.
that broke that news to you, you need to get the net.
I was today years old when I found out that no.
Yeah. But if you listen really closely, you might be able to hear Jerry yelling. Can you hear Jerry yelling through the TV? Put your ears close to the speaker. You can hear it.
Is it the acid? That's not Jerry or the acid, dude. You know what that is?
I know what that is.
Oh my god, I know what that is.
It's the Michelada
Minute, baby. Yeah, it's the Michelada Minute, baby. I thought it was Jerry. I thought it was Jerry, dude. It wasn't Jerry.
Sorry, just us.
It's Jerry in the casket with the dancing polesman, the pallbearers or whatever. Fucking
hell yeah, it was.
Oh, I love that song.
So
but not as much as I love micheladas, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, cheers to all you guys. As always, enjoy every episode of the Dirty 30 podcast with an ice cold michelada. It makes it sound better, makes it taste better, makes it look better. Just do it.
Feels better. I went and got my first beer. So since March, I haven't had any drinks besides the Michelada Minutes, and we've only recorded 3 now podcasts. So I didn't really have any drinks. I was smoking an insane amount of weed, but I went and got beers that felt really good. And it was like 20 feet away from anyone. Don't worry.
Yeah.
I was fine.
I haven't been able to do that yet here in California, but honestly, even when it does happen, probably won't. Dad duties and shit. I'm on dad duties.
Yeah. You know what you can do, though? You can do some good impressions. I heard you could do a Ray Romano.
Hey, it's me, Ray. You do a way better Ray, dude.
I told the story the other day at work to somebody. We were talking about Ray Romano, and I was like, dude, one time we were blasted in Vegas, and I was screaming out the windows to people down on like the strip and shit, and I was like, hey, it's me, Ray! Like,
come catch me at the Mirage.
Hey, it's my dad. And my mom's here. And my brother.
My brother's a police officer. Our list of this week is a list of some of Shane and I's favorite impressions from movies, TV shows, skits.
Impressionists. Some of it we don't have like specific impressions because these people that do the one can do like 50 fucking great ones. So why pigeonhole them? All of them are great.
Let's start the list off strong with Will Ferrell. Will Ferrell, obviously one of the funnier comedians of our time, did a stint on SNL where he had a legendary audition tape, and I think they filmed the skit as well. But his impersonation of Harry Carey was absolutely on point, dude. It's just who was the guest on it? Do you remember who the guest was? It was like Harry Carey.
Because when I think of his audition tape, I honestly always think of him laying on. This isn't an impression, but when he's laying down, or he walks into an invisible room. Keep in mind he's sitting there by himself, so he just walks in and he goes, like he presses the phone and he goes, "Hi, Barbara. Can you hold all my calls for the next half an hour? Thanks." And then he opens the drawer and pulls out the like piece of yarn, the ball of yarn.
Does
and he
kitty
lays
tricks?
on the ground like he's a cat. Yeah, and he's just doing the like cat shit.
That's classic.
And just to think that there's like a boss out there that just puts all of his calls for the next half an hour on hold and just lays around on his ground with like catnip and shit.
You know, his Robert Goulet was classic as well.
Oh yeah,
that one was a really funny one. And then
That's why I come out here.
Yeah,
nature.
Goulet. His
Goulet.
Trebek, obviously super funny.
He does all of them. The Bush on Broadway. That was like one of the greatest things. I think HBO did it.
That was really good.
Yeah. Dude, yeah, Will Ferrell did a fucking ton. Dude, we got the Big Willie style because also Will Sasso.
Yeah.
Will Sasso he's like the daddy when it comes to fucking impressions.
Classic Mad TV Will Sasso, his Kenny Loggins impression, legendary.
Or Kenny Rogers.
That's what I said.
You said Kenny Loggins.
Dude, I get those two confused all the time, man.
I was like, wait, Kenny Loggins? Who is Kenny Loggins?
Kenny Loggins is the dude that did like all the 80s soundtracks. He's did like Top Gun and shit. Yeah. Danger Zone.
That should be a t-shirt.
Who
is Kenny Loggins?
Kenny Loggins or Kenny Rogers? You guys, I don't know. We're millennials. Don't sue us.
Loggins over Rogers and see if it stirs it up.
Yeah. Next on the list, we got Jay Farrow, SNL classic. His Denzel Washington impression, one of the most spot on, but that dude was pretty much brought on SNL for his impressions. He did some classic ones. Go check him out if you haven't seen it.
Right. We went with Chappelle too. Chappelle's impressions are he's like an honorable mention, but some of the ones that he's done, obviously there's like the Rick James skit and there's all the other shit, but what was the one that we were talking about? There's like a specific one.
There's two. There was, actually there was multiple. There was him as R. Kelly was hilarious.
Oh yeah.
Definitely more of a parody impression than spot on, but that was good. His Puff Daddy impression was fucking hilarious. And then anytime he impersonates a white person, Chuck Taylor.
Yeah. Chuck Taylor.
Yeah.
Chuck, you pasty bastard.
Or how about
like you just walked up from ground zero?
The Trading Spouses. Would you like to make love through this hole in my pajamas?
Smells like your lightsaber.
Classic.
This shit's funny. And then I think we tie it up with Larry David so this one's a very specific one, but Larry David as Bernie Sanders.
Yeah, honorable mention Alec Baldwin as Trump. Saturday
Oh
Night
yeah,
Live
those ones being specifics.
Yeah.
Those impressions are fucking killer. And Big Al, he had said Dana Carvey as what's he does, Reagan, or who's he do?
Ross Perot.
Oh yeah. Dana Carvey is Ross Perot.
That one's pretty good as well. So yeah, those are a list of impressions. Go check them out. YouTube is a great place to see those. But if you need a little chuckle during these heavy times, go check out some impressions.
Yeah, impressions are good. I've always tried to do like a Morgan Freeman impression, but I've never been able to. Can you do one?
I've tried a couple times. I'm not that good at it, but who needs an impression when you got connects like you and I do?
We told y'all that coming episode 20, we're gonna come in fucking hot. We told you guys that we were gonna we were holding out surprises. We were just sitting there building it up. Last week we got you or not last week, 2 weeks ago we got you Gary Payton. I don't know if you know that fucking like 3-4 time MVP. Fuck, dude. Do you even know what we did for you guys this week?
New intro, fucking celebrity guests. We got you guys. So this week we're kicking it to a very special rendition of one of our favorite segments, the strain of the episode.
Let's hit it.
The strain of the episode. Hello, Tim and Shane. It's me, Morgan Freeman. Let me tell you about my favorite indica dominant strain, Black Diamond. Black Diamond is a Northern California strain ideal for patients who need a strong medication but still want to be active and sociable. A cross between blackberry and diamond energy. Its flowers have a glittery chrome coloring and purple coloring that make it a gem to look at. The strain's aroma is musky and earthy, almost like a deep red wine. This strain will make you relaxed, euphoric, and very happy, but also sleepy and hungry. Don't forget snacks. Thanks again for having me. Power to the people. I'm Morgan Freeman.
Holy shit, dude. I cannot believe that we made it happen, dude.
God himself.
Some call
Nelson
him God.
Mandela himself.
Some call him a legend. What we call him here on the Dirty 30 podcast is a friend.
That's my brother.
And power to the people. You heard it here.
Morgan, thank you. First off, you're one of my only friends that still hits me in the DMs. So thanks for fucking just straight up hitting me in the DMs.
And he never misses a single post. I don't know how his algorithm works, but he likes every single one of my posts. He's just a good guy.
Dude, have you seen his Reddit? Oh, he cleans up on Reddit.
Yeah. Just putting people in their place. You're a legend, Morgan Freeman, and thank you for gracing this podcast with your time. We appreciate you.
I love you, Morgan. You know who else I love? I love everyone that's listening to this. If you guys are actually listening to this, we appreciate you guys because I think we're getting back on our schedule where we're finding that fact that this podcast actually works as therapy for us.
Mm-hmm.
It gives me ability to have some drinks. The clouds have separated. The dark clouds are leaving. Other than the fact that as soon as everything started to feel a little bit better with life, all of a sudden a cop got caught on camera murdering someone. It happens all the time, but I say caught on camera because that's the only difference is that happened, so we all found out. So besides this new current storm of fucking chaos that is 2020, things are looking good. Everything's feeling a little bit better. You know, we're trying to get life rolling back, and we appreciate it. We love everyone listening.
Yeah. Thank you guys for spending your time with us as always. And we're going to go on to leave this episode, just like every episode, with a reading of a quote from one of our favorite human beings on this planet, Sir Jeff Goldblum.
People work harder when conditions are worse. Jeff Goldblum.
Black Lives Matter.
Thanks for listening to the Dirty 30 podcast. Check us out at TDTPcast. Like, subscribe, share, just tell people. Fuck it. Don't even talk about the podcast. Tell people about all the current events happening. Pay attention. Get ready to fucking vote.